Good morning, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to this exciting roundtable. Before starting with the Q&A session, I would like to say that after seeing your pitches, I think your solutions can provide, can address real supply chain problems. And I think we need this type of solutions more than ever to reshape the supply chains and to be able to face future challenges. So the first question could be answered. It's addressed to all three of you, but I would like to start with Guillermo. Okay, so Guillermo, you know that supply chain has a high degree of complexity and uncertainty nowadays. So my opinion is that to face this situation, we need real-time visibility end-to-end and also integration of all parties. So your solution is providing integration between parties, shipper carriers, and terminal ports, also provide visibility of the process and improve efficiency throughout the reduction of manual tasks, okay? But I can see also some pain points, okay? Like drivers onboarding, I think it's really difficult. And also the integration between the system of different parties. So the question is, what feedback have you received from your early customers or pilots with regard to the problems they have had to overcome and the benefits or the advantages that they have gained?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a really good question. I'm going to divide the question in two topics, like challenges we're facing, okay, and opportunities. So, in terms of experiences, one of the main barriers we suffer and we have to implement kind of change management was, as you mentioned, the reaction or the way the truck drivers don't want to implement or use new applications, new technology. So from our point of view, one of the things we can do from Passify in order to implement these kind of solutions is just to be really close to the truck drivers during the POC and then during the first stage of the implementation of the process, and try to automate all the solutions that we can give to them. For example, one of the good things we are doing is, as I mentioned, we are solving incidents in less than 7 minutes. So in the POC, in the first stage of the implementation, we were at the terminal present, but once the operations were running normal pace, all the incidents that were surging, we were with them in less than 7 minutes. So that's one of the points of how we are tackling these pain points of the sector. And another thing is that regarding the complexity, it's right now we are live in Hala, we are live in Romania in some inland terminals. But for example, based on my experience, right now I'm approaching a lot of terminals and port authorities here in Spain. So it's really curious because every port is different, every port community is different, and also every terminal is different. So my suggestion, or the way we are doing that, is just we are having meetings with everyone from the port community, and it's like a consultative sales. So just go with them, accompany them in the whole process, and try to solve their problems as they are appearing, and giving them solutions. So that's it.
No, thanks, Guillermo. I suppose to be clear, I know Guillermo fairly well and Passify, and I suppose one of the question on that, you mentioned the port community, is I also know a lot of the systems, if not all of them, that people are using currently. What is the conversation like when you're speaking to people in the community, when you say that, you know, we can deal with all the OCR portals that are there, we can do better than all the vehicle booking systems that are there, and yet we, you know, these generally take, you know, many, many years to build up these legacy systems. How has the conversation been with a lot of these companies?
First of all, we ask for the process. I mean, that's key. Every terminal is different. So process, and then once they are like telling us how they are doing things, we are trying to fit our solution. We have a starter solution. We are, as I mentioned, living 6 terminals. But as we are in startup, we can also like do kind of developments or adjustments in our product in order to fit perfectly like the needs of the terminals. So that's the main point. And apart from that, always like we are asking to the terminals who we have to talk to. So we know trucking companies, like associations and everyone. So I think it's very important to have point of view of the all the stakeholders. And once you have it, I think you can fit the solution based on your standards, but you can fit the solution to each port and like solve the complexity of each port ecosystem. Because as I mentioned, everywhere is different. So that's it.
It's like the classic line that every founder that I speak to says that if you've seen one port, you've seen one port.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Next question. We move to Elonroad. Sure. David, and your solution, it's impressive in terms of, because I manage some electric vehicles, electric trucks, and to improve efficiency, and enabling to charge while driving or unloading or loading, it's wonderful. Okay, so but I think a significant investment is required. So I don't know if you have different business models, but the question is, who will pay and maintain the infrastructure?
Yeah, of course, there is always an investment, and that's why it's so important to always look to the customer and see how can we make the whole business work better. Of course, that's always the key point in this business case. Our business model is hardware sales together with software and services. So we install and we maintain and track it so it works, essentially. The customer, if we focus on ports, is the operator, the ones who actually drives and operates the vehicles that we electrify. So they will be the main customer. In terms of how we do that, there's obviously different types of financial vehicles that we can use to make that shift easier for the customer, for sure. But like I mentioned, when you look at the whole picture, the total cost of ownership of those vehicles, and you look at the big picture, we actually are able to lower the TCO for the operator, and that is why it makes it so interesting compared to diesel, compared to other charging alternatives.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, David, obviously we've had quite a number of conversations about different areas that Elonroad could be used. Whether it's obviously the initial conversation was based on ports, but I think it's interesting to also just kind of discuss with people here what the other potential applications are of Elonroad, whether it's road, whether it's rail, whether it's active road, and the different markets, and also how Elonroad has kind of evolved over time and how it now considers those markets.
Yeah, absolutely. It's if you start from the beginning, the company, like I mentioned, was started with public roads in mind, and it's still our long-term vision. And then the market responded and said, ports and logistics hubs. Absolutely. So that's where we're focusing right now. And specifically ports is very interesting because it's a closed system. So it's much easier to, with fewer stakeholders to convince, essentially. Same with the logistics hubs. So, for example, trucking fleets, where we have semi-public, and that's another major of our customer segments. But we see this with any type of vehicle. We've retrofitted buses, trucks, normal cars, basically any type of vehicle that you can think of, an electric one, we can retrofit. So we start at logistics and then end with public roads, and that includes buses, it includes airports, it includes anywhere with electrical vehicles. That's essentially the market.
Okay, and you have mentioned 3PL or hubs, logistics operators. And don't you think that could be a mess to receive trucks with different technologies?
Absolutely, standardization is a key thing, and you might need to have supportive technologies for the ones who doesn't support this one. That is something that our customers are talking about as well, where we need to kind of have maybe a dual purpose or similar. Absolutely, but no, for us it's creating that kind of ecosystem as well, leading the conversation in a region, for example, in a distribution region. And making sure that if we have different logistics companies delivering to different spaces or to similar spaces, then a standardized way of charging is essential. Because if you have our solution, you can charge while you're discharging or loading the vehicle, so for a 3PL, which saves you time and space and makes the whole flow much easier.
Okay, thank you. No, I think it's the time to move from the road to the ocean. Okay, so I think you have reinvented the container itself, adding technology and new materials to an asset that has been unchanged for decades. So I think it's a great idea, but we need standards, and we are a really conservative industry. And the container is one of the biggest standards. So my question is, what are your plans for scaling production and entering global shipping alliances?
That's a good question. Indeed, standards are, actually I would say that's the power of that tool. It's, I don't know if people know it, but it's the most standardized object in the world. So personally, I see it as an opportunity. You do one product and it can deploy everywhere. We match the standards, so we're not reinventing the standards. We're adapting ourselves to the standard. We're just building the container differently. We're not changing how it's standardized. It works exactly the same way. It fits in the supply chain in the same way. The only thing that would differ is maintenance and repair, basically. But it's actually done in an easier way, but we use the same network. So we basically partner with the same depots that provide maintenance and repair services for the main lines, and we select a few of them that will have an additional business line to provide maintenance and repair for ours. Deployment at scale is important. This is an industry that has now for very much a long time, for several decades, have been used to massive scale, right? Doesn't know that well how to do the tiny bits in the beginning. So most of the questions that we do get from the giants that we deal with is, how can you ensure that you're going to serve me at scale? It's not an easy question to answer because electric vehicles needed to start also with low, like a few numbers, right? So this is something that we're actively working on. We partner basically with external, we control our manufacturing apparatus, but we work with partners that have a history and large scale basically from a deployment capacity. But the way that we engineer matching our actual scale with a service that is well provided to the industry is that we go customer by customer, trade lane by trade lane, use case by use case, and we say no to the rest, right? So we're not spreading 0.1% of containers everywhere so that everyone is a little bit dissatisfied. We're more going, the customers that we have, the partners that we sign, we say no to the rest, get in line. We don't have the capacity to serve you at the moment. We'll make sure that these first customers, partners are 100% satisfied within certain trade loops where the quantification becomes much easier to build. And then, using that pipeline of new demand, we can, and aligning financing on the side, which is another big matter, right? Asset financing. That's where we can start building our road plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, I really think the model is very interesting. As long as it meets all ISO standardizations, there's absolutely no reason why this would not conceptually work. Just coming back to a kind of a nuts and bolts aspect of it, from the structural integrity of the container, the ribs, I mean, they provide two things. One, they provide the structural integrity, but also from an operational perspective, they help a lot in the loading and discharging of containers. Is that something that you had thought about much, about how operationally these are different and how they might affect the operations themselves?
Yeah. Just to go back on the standardization very quickly. Our containers are, we've done hundreds of shipments. They're accepted by the main lines. We are in advanced discussions with 4 of the top 5 for integration into the product line. So we've passed all the logistics and at the high level, let's say, challenges. So indeed, as you might have seen on the pictures, right, our walls are smooth, which actually brings a few advantages. We actually consume less fuel on the road because of the flat panels. We actually are more aerodynamic. I don't know if you could call a container aerodynamic, but it's definitely more aerodynamic than one that has corrugation. So that leads to about 2 to 3% fuel reduction on the road. It's a side benefit. But our container is, so the structure is made with supportive structural panels. So we don't need a corrugation to bring strength, like a piece of paper, right? Panels are so thin from standard containers. They're 1.6 millimeter today. So it will be like a piece of paper. If you just try to stand it straight, it will, of course, crumble, right? So you need to fold it to enable it to be straight. Our panels are thick, so we don't remove any space from inside or outside, but we use the same space that you have for the corrugation, but with a structural, like a wall, basically, that provides strength, insulation, everything. So from that perspective, it's not required. From the perspective of guiding and so on, indeed, that's one thing, and we have other examples of feedback from the markets, ensuring that we sort of iterate on the next wave to make it even easier for operators to use a container. But here, simply having guiding lines or central line and so on the container would help, stack containers and so on. But that's not something we have at the moment. We haven't experienced that problem, but it's definitely something that we should integrate. Yeah.
Okay, all your solutions are obviously including software. So one of the worries for customers when we acquire software, it's the deployment time. So Guillermo, if you have to set up a project right now into a 3PL, how long does it take?
Right now we are in conversations with some potential customers here in Spain, some terminals, and they are asking just that question. And we can have the product live maybe 1 month and a half. Yeah. If they don't want POC, if they want POC, because our product, it's...
Including integrations,
yeah,
with different systems.
Because we are integrating mainly to TOS and GOS, Terminal Operating System and Gate Operating Systems, and there are not too much vendors and solutions in the market, and they are really common in the big terminals. So that's why the integrations are mostly set up, and yeah.
Okay, in this case, this won't be a barrier to.
Yeah. For us, that's one of the benefits we are telling to terminals, that solution can be deployed in really short time. So.
I'm just conscious of time as well in all of this, and just one thing that came into my head during the week when we saw Deal raise their Series E, and I think they splurged about 90% of it on an acquisition. Fast forward to your Series E. What would you? It doesn't have to be a specific company. It could be an idea of a company that's not yet created yet. what would be the ideal acquisition for your companies?
Me?
All three of you. And it's got to be fairly quick.
It's a good question. Our solution, you can think of it a little bit like a smartphone. So we're building the infrastructure that changes the appeal of the box itself, but then the connectedness and all the information that is provided inside provides opportunities for add-on services, regardless of what it is, around supply chain management. So my answer is going to be very broad, but depending on what we want to productize in-house, potentially, just like Google has some products itself, or OpenAI is just launching a browser right now. Acquisitions would probably go around what specific products do we want to have closer to heart to service the market, and as examples of the usage of a modern, it makes sense container. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. Series E, huh? Yeah, we're raising our Series A now. I think we are hardware geeks, right? We know hardware and we're really good at it. Our software is super strong as well, but I think where we can really improve as well is to learn from, for example, the CPOs with their software, how to kind of integrate those. And so I would say an acquisition of a partner that we call them today, essentially. Somewhere that increases our value proposition and makes it easier to have a one-stop shop. I think that would be. So a CPO, potentially another hardware provider for a niche that we're maybe not excelling in today. Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, I'm thinking quite similar to David, because we are like, problems are the same in the whole terminals. So in order, I mean, we are not so much solutions regarding truck handling right now, like with biometrics, like similar ones. So I think from my point of view, we'll be like looking at the market and check which kind of competitor we can. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Okay, I don't know if we have time enough. 5 minutes? Okay, last question. Okay, I don't know if you want to answer me this question, but anyway, I will launch the question. Okay, you are pioneers in your solutions, in your industry, with really new ideas. So I don't know which are the barriers to going into for competitors, or even better, which are your competitive advantages? I mean, is your team, is the way you work, is your technology, is your relationship with key players? It's for all of you.
I can start. From my point of view, I think it's like the experience, because the idea of Passify, born in one HALA terminal. So my two co-founders, both Marcel and Nico, both of them, they have a broad experience in working in like inside the terminal, so they know quite good like the problem. So I think that's a really important point.
Okay. And for you?
Another very good question, but the nature that is very full stack of what we do provides huge moats. I mean, it looks like a simple container, but it's actually aerospace technologies applied to a very grunt standard ecosystem. So we had to reinvent a lot. Just like an electric car is not just a normal car where you flip up the hood and put a battery inside and all of a sudden it works, right? You have an entire new engineering supply chain, etc., to set up. So those are huge moats. Anyone that follows has to start from the beginning. There's nothing to buy off the shelf. And any inroads that we do in the market is a locked door afterwards, right? So the customers that we have, 100% are still with us, right? So the value proposition for switching afterwards, the switching cost or the switching value would be difficult. So I think we are in a space where being first is very challenging. I won't lie to you. We had to force our way into the entire thing. You don't change something that hasn't changed for 50 years by just asking, right? But at the same time, I do think that it's one of our strong competitive advantages that will remain.
Okay, thank you.
For our sake, I think I'll join. Is the whole system, the complexity of it, the very not just speaking about patents. We have 10 plus patents already. Another thing I want to mention is what you said as well. We have a quite small team. We're only 25 people and been able to do what we're doing. So we can move really fast and we really know what we're doing. And I think that is a huge moat that many maybe will forget about as well. On top of that, the last thing I wouldn't say is the partnership building. If you're starting from the beginning and you enter this, you realize you need to grow through partnership. You need to have people that trust your solution and wants to work with you, and that is quite hard to come by, and which is a strong moat as well.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if I can share with you one insight, because I have been working for more than 30 years into the supply chain, so technology is too much for me. But there are one thing that I have learned is that in the supply chain, technology provides power when it's integrated, shared, and by many stakeholders, okay? Because we have been decades improving our own process, and now the gains are in the interfaces, you know? So I think the handicap for all these new solutions is to be standard and to be adopted by many stakeholders inside to provide visibility, to decrease risks, and I think it's something that if we can put together technology with collaboration or cooperation, will take the supply chain to the next step. I don't know if I will see it, but I hope. Thank you so much for your ideas.
No, I can't possibly top that. Thank you.